today, which is, have you ever felt at some point of your life that you were not interesting enough? And if anyone in the audience has felt this, please raise your hands. I know I have. Okay, thank you for not letting me hear. Hello. And as such, today I bring to you a subject on how to improve the part of becoming interesting. Because I think one thing is when we see something like this, if you can see the picture, it's boring. So when you get a conversation that's boring with another person, you fail to connect, and you think something is missing. I think we all want this, which is an interesting conversation, to feel connection with other people, to laugh, to have fun, and to feel understood. So, how can we become more interesting? How can we become? I have 6 steps that can get us there, that I would like to share with you. So, step number 1, don't be boring. You might find, okay, it's joking, right? No. To not be boring, I would say be precise. Go straight to the point. Imagine the following. You're telling a story, and suddenly there's not a question from the other person. Maybe you're telling it too long. So stop there, or ask yourself a question. Make the dialogue to go. Create rapport with the other person. Okay, step number 2. Be a good listener. I think we all love talking about ourselves. So, and this is well pointed by a Harvard neuroscientist, Dr. Diana Tenier, that says self-disclosure is extra rewarding, which basically means that we just love talking about ourselves, and it's concluded that this is as rewarding to us as money or food. So keep that in mind. Step number 3. Talk about what other people like, their hobbies, what they've been up to. It's always a good point to make when you start talking with other people and say, so what do you like? They will just start talking. And in this case, Dale Carnegie, which you probably have heard on how to win friends and influence people, tells us this. Step number 4. Maybe if the conversation goes wrong, what can you do? Have a couple of backup stories to make the conversation go on. They can be entertaining, they can be informative, or they can even engage the other person to talk with you. So what do you think about this? The other person will start. Makes this a bit more interesting. Step number 5, and I find this, as my opinion, the most important one, charisma. But to be charismatic, and I will not get into the definition of charismatic, I will just say that charisma in this place is about communication. So to be a charismatic communicator, you have to understand that communication is both verbal and non-verbal, and about 7% is the actual words we say. So what I'm saying right now, if you write it down, that's 7% of the conversation. But the interesting part is the emotional part of the conversation, the lower tone of voice, slow tone of voice, excited tone of voice, that is charisma. So you work on reducing the speed that you speak, getting a lower tone of voice in order to embrace the audience and the person that's speaking with you, have a smile, be positive. This will make you be more charismatic, and the other people will notice. If you start speeding up the conversation, they might think that you are nervous. So slow down. Engage people. Number 6, this is the final point. Live an interesting life. And this, you might think, that's harder. But it's not that hard, so you just need to meet with people that are interesting, that you find the most interesting people. So it's not expensive, it's not that hard. And that will define you in some way, in the views of other people, that you're also interesting, because you're meeting with these interesting people. So if you want to be, let's say, a good communicator, then you should hang out with Toastmasters. If you want to be, I would say, really free or loose, maybe you should go meet with surfers. It depends on what you like and what you want to portray to other people. So, in conclusion, what I would say is that okay, there are 6 steps that you can use to become more interesting, and these 6 steps will be, number 1, don't be boring, which is as you understood, not that difficult. Number 2, be a good listener, because we all want to hear about ourselves. Number 3, talk about the other people's interests also, not just your own. Number 4, have some stories that you can back up if you need to. Number 5, be charismatic, that will really help. And number 6, live an interesting life. Because at the end, to be interesting is the perception that people have of you. And perception is reality. You can influence perception just by doing these small 6 steps. Thank you, and